Hello. So today we're going to be looking at our presentations in a little bit more detail. Before you begin a presentation or an essay or really anything, it's very important to sit back and make a bit of a plan. But before you've even done that, you want to sit back and think, how can I make this the most interesting I can? Look at it from different angles and different perspectives. And so that's what we're going to do today. So the first sheet that I would like you to have in front of you is what makes a good presentation. This is just a template that I've got for your note taking. So please have this sheet out in front of you with your pen and paper at the ready. We're going to analyse two short presentations from the TED stage. Having a look at those presentations, I want you to think about what makes that presentation good or interesting. Here, you can put the details in the item column. Then I'd like you to write down some details. Maybe it was body language, maybe it was humour, maybe it was shock. What were the details? How did they make use of it? And can you make use of it in your presentation? So I want you to think about all of the ways that you could make your presentation more interesting. You might think that your topic isn't very interesting, but trust me, people on the TED stage have talked about things from procrastination to why grass grows, and all of those presentations have been thoroughly interesting. So everything has that possibility to be a fascinating topic. So can I make use of it in my presentation, and how could you make use of it in your presentation? So this is the first stage in us working out how we can make this presentation fantastic and develop that initial presentation skill that you will need. Just to remind you, these presentations, they've got a couple of reasons that we're doing them. Number one, it's to increase your confidence in speaking English in a group environment. And you'll be required to do that when you get to university and in whatever job you choose to do, whether you're speaking English or Chinese or Japanese or Korean, and basically any company, you're going to have to work in a group environment. So being confident in how you express yourself in any language is very important. Presentation skills also help your ability to organise, to put facts into a chronological order or order of interest or otherwise. It also increases your ability to think critically, to go deeper into a topic, not to just accept what is immediately said to you. So again, have this presentation in front of you, and we're going to move across to our TED Talk in just a moment. So the first gentleman that we're going to look at is Apollo Robbins. Here we go.
Do you think it's possible to control someone's attention? Even more than that, what about predicting human behavior? I think those are interesting ideas if you could. I mean, for me, that'd be the perfect superpower. Actually, kind of an evil way of approaching it. But for myself, in the past, I've spent the last 20 years...
Okay, so the first bit that we actually see, at the very beginning, he did one thing, but he did it twice. He asked a rhetorical question. So remember, a rhetorical question is something to get the audience thinking, but the audience do not have to respond to. So asking a rhetorical question, that's spelled R-H-E-T-O-R-I-C-A-L, asking a rhetorical question makes the audience think, if I could, have I? So it gets them engaged.
I think those are interesting ideas if you could. I mean, for me, that'd be the perfect superpower. Actually, kind of an evil way of approaching it.
Next, we see he's actually using humour to engage. If you can get your audience to laugh, you know they're going to be paying attention to the rest of your presentation. There's the opposite of that as well, if you can get them to laugh, or if you can shock them. So if you're talking about something like animal testing, having a picture up of something terrible that happened to an animal will also engage the brain of your audience. They'll and want to keep listening to you.
But for myself, in the past, I've spent the last 20 years studying human behavior from a rather unorthodox way, picking pockets.
Okay, so he's looked at human behavior and he's done the same as what we've been doing in our introduction. He's using a funnel. So he started really big and he's moved his way down, and now he's talking about picking pockets. He's actually talking about misdirection, but he's using this very interesting and quite funny little tool to explain that to the audience.
When we think of misdirection, we think of something as looking off to the side when actually it's often the things that are right in front of us that are hardest things to see, the things that you look at every day that you're blinded to. For example, how many of you still have your cell phones on you right now? Great. Double check, make sure you still have them on you. I was doing some shopping beforehand. Now, you've looked at them probably a few times today, but I'm gonna ask you a question about them. Without looking at your cell phone directly yet, can you remember the icon in the bottom right corner? Bring them out, check, and see how accurate you were. How'd you do? Show of hands, did we get it?
I got the one on my second page, but not on my first page with my iPhone. I hope you all had a look as well to see if you could remember. It was quite an easy. This is actually getting the audience to participate in just a really short, quick activity, something that doesn't have to make noise. They don't have to stand up, sit down, or go into groups, but it's engaging the audience to make them experience something.
Now that you're done looking at those, close them down, because every phone has something in common. No matter how you organize the icons, you still have a clock on the front. So without looking at your phone, what time was it? You just looked at your clock, right? It's an interesting idea. Now I'll ask you to take that a step further with a game of trust. Close your eyes. I realize I'm asking you to do that while you just heard there's a pickpocket in the room, but close your eyes. Now, you've been watching me for about 30 seconds. With your eyes closed, what am I wearing? Make your best guess. What color is my shirt? What color is my tie? Now open your eyes. By show of hands, were you right? It's interesting, isn't it? Some of us are a little bit more perceptive than others. It seems that way, but I have a different theory about that model of attention. They have fancy models of attention, Posner's trendy model of attention. For me, I like to think of it very simple, like a surveillance system. It's kind of like you have all these fancy sensories, and inside your brain is a little security guard. For me, I like to call him Frank.
So I'm just going to stop again. I'm sorry I'm stopping, but I just want to make sure that you can see all of the little tools that he's using to make an effective presentation. So it doesn't mean that someone's just born able to give good presentations, although that is true. There are skills involved and little highlighted things they do. So for instance, you can see he's using the PPT over here, using his PowerPoint. There's no words on it at the moment. It's just one big screen. The PPT is not for him to read out. The PPT is simply to complement what he's saying, to emphasize what his comment is. And you need to keep that in mind. We're not going to start our PPTs for another week, but you need to keep that in mind, that to complement what you're saying, it is not for you to read off.
So Frank is sitting at a desk. He's got all sorts of cool information in front of him, high-tech equipment. He's got cameras, he's got a little phone that you can pick up, listen to the ears, all these senses, all these perceptions. But attention is what steers your perceptions, is what controls your reality. It's the gateway to the mind. If you don't attend to something, you can't be aware of it. But ironically, you can attend to something without being aware of it. That's why there's the cocktail effect. When you're in a party, you're having conversations with someone, and yet you can recognize your name and you didn't even realize you were listening to that. Now, for my job, I have to play with techniques to exploit this, to play with your attention as a limited resource. So if I could control how you spend your attention, if I could maybe steal your attention through a distraction. Now, instead of doing it like misdirection and throwing off to the side, instead what I choose to focus on is Frank, to be able to play with the Frank inside your head, your little security guard, and get you, instead of focusing on your external senses, just to go in.
Sorry, I'm going to stop you again. I just want you to take note of his body language. So I know that he's speaking relatively quickly, but remember this is an English audience. However, you'll notice that he's using his body language when he's saying you, he points sort of at the audience. When he talks about me, you can see his arms go back toward him. His facial expressions, when he asks a question, he raises his eyebrows. His tone of voice is going up and down in association. He's not moving around the stage very much, but he does step forward when he tries to make a particular point and steps back when he wants to take a moment for you to think about it. All these little things, this body language, facial expressions, eye contact, have a huge impact on the audience that makes them want to listen, and it also means that you make an effective presentation. It also means that you can start influencing people. And that is a skill that we're hoping you will take away from GAC. When you go to university and you go through at work, you can use this body language and these facial techniques and tone of voice to influence the people that you're speaking with.
Internal for a second. So if I ask you to access a memory, like what is that? What just happened? Do you have a wallet? Do you have an American Express in your wallet? And when I do that, your Frank turns around. He accesses the file. He has to rewind the tape. And what's interesting is he can't rewind the tape at the same time that he's trying to process new data. Now, I mean, this sounds like a good theory, but I could talk for a long time and tell you lots of things, and they may be true, a portion of them. But I think it's better if I tried to show that to you here live. So if I come down, I'm going to do...
So just before we go on, you can see how he's simplifying this actually really high-level psychological concept of misdirection, but he's breaking it down to the audience. And that's actually what Einstein said. So the evidence of a truly intelligent person is someone that can take a complex idea and really simplify it for the audience to understand. But before you can understand, before you can make them understand, you need to make sure that you understand. So it might be something else that you want to think about for your presentation. Do you truly understand your topic? Can you simplify it? Can you make the audience relate to that topic? This is a bit of a fun bit, so I'm going to stop talking for a couple of minutes and let you enjoy.
A little bit of shopping. Just hold still where you are. Hello, how are you? It's lovely to see you. You did a wonderful job on stage. You have a lovely watch that doesn't come off very well. Do you have your ring as well? Good, just taking inventory. You're like a buffet. It's hard to tell where to start. There's so many great things. Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Hi, sir, could you stand up for me, please? Just right where you are. You're married. You follow the directions well. That's nice to meet you, sir. You don't have a whole lot inside your pockets. Anything down by the pocket over here? Hopefully so. Have a seat. There you go. You're doing well. Hi, sir. How are you? Good to see you, sir. You have a ring, a watch. Do you have a wallet on you? Well, we'll find one for you. Come on up this way, Joe. Give Joe a round of applause. Come on up, Joe. Let's play a game. Pardon me. Don't think that you need this clicker anymore. You can have that. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Come on up to the stage, Joe. Let's play a little game. Now, do you have anything in your front pockets? Money. All right, let's try that. Can you stand right over this way for me? Turn around and let's see. If I give you something that belongs to me, this is just something, a half poker chip. Hold out your hand for me. Watch it kind of close. Now, this is a task for you to focus on. Now, you have your money in your front pocket here? Yep. Good. I'm not going to actually put my hand in your pocket. I'm not ready for that kind of commitment. One time a guy had a hole in his pocket, and that was rather traumatizing. I was looking for his wallet, and he gave me his phone number. It was a big miscommunication. So let's do this simply. Squeeze your hand. Squeeze it tight. Do you feel the poker chip in your hand? Would you be surprised if I could take it out of your hand? Say yes? Good. Open your hand. Thank you very much. I'll cheat if you give me a chance. Make it harder for me. Just use your hand. Grab my wrist, but squeeze. Squeeze firm. Did you see it go? No. No, it's not here. Open your hand. See, while we're focused on the hand, it's sitting on your shoulder right now. Go ahead and take it off. Now, let's try that again. Hold your hand out flat, open it up all the way. Put your hand up a little bit higher, but watch it close there, Joe. See, if I did it slowly, it'd be back on your shoulder. Joe, we're going to keep doing this till you catch it. You're going to get it eventually. I have faith in you. Squeeze firm. Squeeze. You're human. You're not slow. It's back on your shoulder. You were focused on your hand. That's why you were distracted. While you were watching this, I couldn't quite get your watch off. It was difficult. Yet you had something inside your front pocket. Do you remember what it was? Money. Check your pocket, see if it's still there. Is it still there? Oh, that's where it was. Go ahead and put it away. We're just shopping. This trick's more about the timing, really. I'm going to try to push it inside your hand. Put your other hand on top for me, would you? It's amazingly obvious now, isn't it? It looks a lot like the watch I was wearing, doesn't it? Oh, nice. It's only a start. Let's try it again a little bit differently. Hold your hands together. Put your other hand on top. Now, if you're watching this little token, this obviously has become a little target. It's like a red herring. If we watch this kind of close, it looks like it goes away. It's not back on your shoulder. It falls out of the air, lands right back in the hand. Did you see it go? That's funny. Got a little guy, he's union. He works up there all day. If I did it slowly, if it goes straight away, it lands down by your pocket. I believe, is it in this pocket, sir? No, don't reach in your pocket. That's a different show. Sorry. That's rather strange. They have shots for that. And can I show them what that is? That's rather bizarre. Is this yours, sir? I have no idea how that works. We'll just send that over there. That's great. I need help with this one. Step over this way for me. Now, don't run away. You had something down by your pants pocket. I was checking mine. I couldn't find everything. But I noticed you had something here. Feel the outside of your pocket for a moment. Down here, I noticed this. Is this something of yours, sir? Is this? I had no idea. That's a shrimp.
Yeah, saving it for later.
You've entertained all these people in a wonderful way. Better than you know. So we'd love to give you this lovely watch as a gift. Hopefully it matches his taste. But also we have a couple of other things, a little bit of cash. And then we have a few other things. These all belong to you, along with a big round of applause from all your friends. So thank you very much. So same question I asked you before, but this time you don't have to close your eyes. What am I wearing?
Okay, so we'll stop there. Again, I know that he was talking quickly, but that's part of the whole misdirection. You'll notice that politicians do it a lot. It's an interesting concept. What he's talking about is something that we can see in day-to-day life. We're focused on brand names and focused on Twitter and Facebook, and that's a form of misdirection that we're dealing in day-to-day life. But he's made that topic, which could be very tedious, very long, made it really interesting. He's also very, very natural in his speech. And that's what you want to do as well to engage people. If you speak a little bit like a machine, people tend to, if you just hear, people tend to go to sleep to that. So you don't want to create white noise, you want to use your tone of voice, okay? So I hope you enjoyed that one. Just going across to a short, really nice little short one. Again, please make sure that you've got your sheets out and you're making notes. And while you're making these notes, have a think about what you could do in your presentation. I know that yours might not be the funniest, but again, you can use shock value, you can use personal anecdotes. Very different to the formality of an essay. You can use informal things, personal anecdotes, stories about families or different members around society, anything like that, which is going to help your presentation. So we'll just watch this short one, and then I'm going to introduce to you to the homework or the work that you need to do during class today.
What's in the box? Whatever it is, it must be pretty important because I've traveled with it, moved it from apartment to apartment to apartment.
Okay, so here we've paused just for a moment because he's using what we call a prop. And for those of you that enjoy drama or know anything about theatre, you know that a prop is just something physical that you can take. So for instance, his prop is he's using this box. And it enables him to talk about something that's going to relate to his overall point. So again, he's using what we call a hook. So he's hooking the audience into this story to get their attention immediately. So remember, the introduction, as in an essay, is very, very important to grab that audience and make them interested. He's also personalizing it. He's saying, you know, this is my box and I've traveled with it and it's got stuff in it. The audience have laughed because we all know what it's like to move and move and move when you're a young adult.
Sound familiar? Did you know that we Americans have about 3 times the amount of space we did 50 years ago?
Again, having a think, he's using now statistics. He's going back to history and comparing it to now, but he hasn't written that really on the board. For his PowerPoint presentation, he's just used images and what the main point is. And the main point is 3x, or 3 times the space. And you can see this is from probably the 1950s, which is 50 or 60 years ago now.
3 times. So you'd think with all this extra space, we'd have plenty of room for all our stuff, right? Nope. There's a new industry in town, a $22 billion, 2.2 billion square foot industry, that of personal storage. So we've got triple the space, but we become such good shoppers that we need even more space. So where does this lead? Lots of credit card debt.
So he's made his point not by writing a whole heap of words, but choosing that one main idea. So when you think about your essay or the paragraphs of an essay, it's very similar to a PowerPoint where your main slide will be the conversation. So what you're saying, and the slide will complement that by focusing on the main idea of that part of your speech or of that paragraph. So here he's talking about debt, and he's used a funny image to complement that point.
Huge environmental footprints, and perhaps not coincidentally, our happiness levels flatline over the same 50 years. Well, I'm here to suggest there's a better way, that less might actually equal more. I bet most of us have experienced at some point the joys of less. College, in your dorm, traveling in a hotel room, camping where you got basically nothing, maybe a boat. Whatever it was for you, I bet that among other things, this gave you a little more freedom, a little more time.
Just wanted to point out how he's speaking. A little more freedom, pause. A little more time, pause. He's also lowered his voice to make it really, to show that that's really important and that he wants his audience to think, yeah, it was like that. I did have a bit more time. I did have a bit more freedom.
So I want to suggest that less stuff and less space are going to equal smaller footprint. It's actually a great way to save you some money, and it's going to give you a little more ease in your life. So I started a project called Life Edited at lifeedited.org to further this conversation and to find some great solutions in this area. First up, crowdsourcing my 420 square foot apartment in Manhattan with partners Mutopo and Javoto.com. I wanted it all. Home office, sit-down dinner for 10, room for guests, and all my kite surfing gear. With over 300 entries from around the world, I got it, my own little jewel box. By buying a space that was 420 square feet instead of 600, immediately I'm saving 200 grand. Smaller space is going to make for smaller utilities, save some more money there, but also a smaller footprint. And because it's really designed around an edited set of possessions, my favorite stuff, and really designed for me, I'm really excited to be there.
Just wanted to make another point that you need to be aware of your audience when you're doing a presentation. Now, he keeps talking about this footprint, which I'm sure that you guys know what your carbon footprint, what that means. It just means, you know, how many flights you might take, how much rubbish you create, how much plastic you throw away, how often you drive your car, all of the things that have a negative impact on the environment. And at a TED Talk, you're going to have a lot of liberal type people that are very environmentally friendly and hoping to improve or stop the issues that we're currently having. And you'll notice that he refers to this quite often, not too much, but he refers to it quite often. And that's because he knows his audience and he knows how he can get his audience to care about his topic. Your audience is going to be your classmates. So don't be presenting as if you're going to present to your old teachers like myself or Terry. Think about how you're going to be presenting to your classmates and how you're going to get them interested and make them understand your topic.
So how can you live little? 3 main approaches. First of all, you need to edit ruthlessly. We've got to clear the arteries of our lives. And that shirt that I haven't worn in years, it's time for me to let it go. We've got to cut the extraneous out of our lives, and we've got to learn to stem the inflow. We need to think before we buy. Ask ourselves, is that really going to make me happier? Truly? By all means, we should buy and own some great stuff, but we want stuff that we're going to love for years, not just stuff. Secondly, our new mantra, small is sexy. We want space efficiency. We want things that are designed for how they're used the vast majority of the time, not that rare event. Why have a 6-burner stove when you rarely use 3? So we want things that nest, we want things that stack, and we want to digitize. You can take paperwork, books, movies, and you can make it disappear. It's magic.
You cannot do that to books. You must read proper books. A Kindle is not a book.
Finally, we want multifunctional spaces, and housewares. A sink's combined with a toilet. A dining table becomes a bed, same space. A little side table stretches out to seat 10. In the winning life edited scheme in a render here, we combine a moving wall with transformer furniture to get a lot out of the space. Look at the coffee table. It grows in height and width to seat 10. My office folds away, easily hidden. My bed just pops out of the wall, 2 fingers. Guests move the moving wall, have some fold down guest beds. And of course, my own movie theater. So I'm not saying that we all need to live in 420 square feet, but consider the benefits of an edited life. Go from 3,000 to 2,000, from 1,500 to 1,000. Most of us, maybe all of us, are here pretty happily for a bunch of days with couple bags, maybe small space, hotel room. So when you go home and you walk through your front door, take a second and ask yourselves, could I do with a little life editing? Would that give me a little more freedom? Maybe a little more time? What's in the box? It doesn't really matter. I know I don't need it. What's in yours?
Okay, so when he said going back to the box, this is what we call, he's done a circle movement. And it's the same again in your essays, that your introduction and conclusion, they come back to that original thesis statement. So he said, you know, what's in this box? I could take it with me everywhere, but everything just stays in the box. You know, what's in your box? What could you do and what could you leave out of your house? But the point is, he's got that circular motion in that presentation. Okay. So coming back, I hope that you've completed quite a few different items, some details, and how you could use. I want you to be thinking about, based on my topic, how can I make it interesting? How can I make it the level of a TED Talk? How can I make sure my audience are interested in it? As I commented, this is a really important skill and it's a wonderful thing to learn at this age, so you can take it with you for the rest of your life. So doing this, again, I will need a snapshot and I'd like you to send that to me to make sure that you've been doing your work. But what you are required to do is this sheet, which hopefully you've been handed out already. And this is called Thinking Outside the Square, How to Make My Presentation Interesting. So I've broken down some things that you can think about in identifying how you can make your presentation interesting. And once we've done this, we're going to move on to our initial plan, but not yet. So this is what your focus is on, and we won't be moving on to the plan until I get all of this homework done by everybody. Oh, I'm just going to put name, because I always forget that, and people send it to me and they don't have their name on it. I don't know whose it is. Okay, so make sure you put your name on it. So what is your purpose? What do you actually want the audience to think, feel, know, or do after your presentation? So you work out, what is my purpose of this presentation? How can I influence my audience? How do I want them to feel at the end of it? Then, what are the most interesting facts about my topic? Again, they can be positive or negative or strange, or compare and contrast, or advantages and disadvantages. What are the really interesting facts that's going to hold my presentation or bring my presentation together? Next, how can I present these facts in an interesting way? So we saw 2 different ways of presenting things. One guy got the audience to do a couple of little activities. The other one broke it down into a really simplified information, and even made sort of a little bit of a, not an anecdote, mathematical term, equation? Yeah, basically made kind of equation with that as well. How can I grab my audience from the very start? Do you want to start with boom, 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 some music as you walk in? Do you want to start with a video or an image or silence and you sitting in front with a can of Coke or whatever the presentation? Again, think outside of the box. What can you do that's related to your topic that's going to really grab the audience in the first moment? Similarly, how can I make my conclusion memorable? So what things could I do? You can see at the end of both of these presentations, they made them memorable in very different ways. One went back to the prop that he used at the very beginning to make it that circle motion. And also asked some rhetorical questions. And the other one did something light and funny and made us realise that maybe we are being misdirected at all times, not realising that we are, which is a very pivotal and really important and a very fun way to do it. But again, think of any presentation, think of any teacher that you've had, any performance you've gone to. How did they engage the audience, and how can you use those skills to do it in your presentation? And the final one is, what questions could I ask my audience, or could the audience ask me at the end, and do I have the answers? This is just some general preparation to get you thinking beyond how you would usually think. So that's all I need you to do today. I would definitely recommend jumping onto TED or YouTube or Kugu and have a look at some other presentations. Just Google some great presentations and things will come up. The more you see, the more skills you'll see, and the more that you can kind of develop. All right, so I'll leave you there. Thank you very much. Please get this through to me as soon as possible, and I will see you in the next class.